Welcome, Australia. It's that time again for another podcast from the Mate team, where we try and get into your head with stuff that makes us sound smart. Sit back and relax. It's time for us to be mates. Welcome to another Let's Be Mates podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Faz, and we've got Dom. Dom, welcome.
Hey Faz, how you going?
Good. So over the last couple of months since we started this Let's Be Mates podcast, we've had a lot of feedback from people asking us to talk and double click on certain things that we do in our business that allow us to be successful. What we've done is created a Quickfire series. In this Quickfire series, we'll tackle individual topics that help us create success in our business. We'll talk about why they're important, how we use them, and why they allow us to be successful.
To kick off the series, we're going to chat with Faz about ways to always keep your business as productive as possible and dig into a little bit into his mad scientist brain. So Faz, just for those listeners out there, tell us who you are and what do you do at Mate?
So a lot of listeners know me as Faz. My full name, Mark Fazio. I'm the General Manager of Mate, and ultimately I work in the Sales and Marketing Division at Mate. Who am I? I'm an identical twin. My identical twin, David, is the CEO of this business. Yes, there is two of us, and yes, it is scary for people that know us. But, you know, my history in business has, in the last 8 years before Mate, I was working at Microsoft. I also lived in Singapore and had a channel marketing role across all Asia markets, representing some key brands like Surface and Xbox and Windows and Office, etc. And that's been my history today. My main goal at Mate is to acquire customers and keep those customers through a bunch of different methods.
How do you define productivity?
I define productivity is about getting the most out of the things within your control. Things like the amount of resources that you have access to, the amount of budget that you've got to spend, and also the tools that you have available at your fingertips to enable you to achieve certain tasks or goals that you want to deliver. This to me absolutely defines productivity, because sometimes you don't always have the shiny bells and whistles if it comes to tools or you don't have 100,000 staff in your business, and you don't always have the budget you would love to spend. So productivity is defined about how you get the most out of what you've got within your control.
So tell us what processes, policies or themes you put into the business to drive that message forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, from my point of view, just mentioning, obviously I work in the sales and marketing department, and I've got two rules, I guess, or two methodologies that I use. First one is process planning communication, or I should say planning process communication. I think if you plan correctly and then you build a process that enables your plan to be executed, and then you communicate what that plan and what that process is, then you literally cannot go wrong. It manages expectations, it manages the flow of everything that's going to happen, and everybody's across what they need to do to make something successful. And, so planning process communication is really at core what we do at May and core what I do as an individual. The other thing is the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. I think once you develop a plan, or you develop a concept or an activity you want to achieve, if you're hitting the 5 W's of who, what, when, where, and why, you can't go wrong, because you're targeting exactly what you're doing, who has to do it, when it has to be done, and why you're doing it. And I think that's key. If you can stick to those two philosophies, I think that enables everything that you're doing to be achieved. Do it in the most productive way, and it basically allows you to be successful. Now, that's what we do at Mate, and that's what I do in my personal life. It works for us, so give it a try.
What type of tools do you use to help achieve the best results?
Look, I think technology has really come a long way, especially in the last couple of years. I think the whole new phase of collaboration tools, there's Facebook Workplace, there's Microsoft Teams and things like that. And I think what we've done in Mate is embrace technology to allow our business to become successful and productivity to fly, right? We use two key tools in our business, Asana, which is a project management tool, and Slack, which is a collaboration tool within our business. Now, we always say if it's not in Asana, it didn't happen. And look, I'm not sure if people are familiar with Asana, but I recommend that you do check it out. But Asana allows for tasks that need to be completed to be listed in an area with timelines, with people associated to them, and certain milestones to hit. Right? If you execute Asana properly in your business, you can never fall down in regards what has to be done, who has to do it, and when it has to be done by. And so if you've got a tool like that in your business, there's no chance for error. There's no chance of people not knowing what is going on, and ultimately it delivers accountability for the individual. The individual ultimately holds accountability for something going wrong if you're using a tool like Asana, and that's where it needs to go. All right, if people take accountability in everything that you do, they're the ones that are. You can easily flush out who actually gives a shit and who doesn't, and I think Asana really enables things like that to be black and white. Now, look, I think with Slack, and a lot of people might use Microsoft Teams. We also have Teams in our business as well. I think at the moment in the world, it's a bit of a fight between Slack and Microsoft Teams, and they all have their benefits. But for us, we do use Slack religiously. Now, why Slack is so important? It allows our business to communicate in forums in a much more efficient way instead of sending multiple emails around in the business. Now, we've actually banned emails internally in our business because it doesn't serve any purpose, and it makes people confused and it's hard to follow. Whereas when we have different channel threads in Slack, it enables us to be more efficient. And the reason for that is simple. Each channel you can assign relevant people to, and those channels you can assign the people that content is going to matter to, and take out the ones that don't, and which means it limits the amount of spam and content that that's been thrown their way. Or outside of that as well, Slack allows us to adding external channels, so people from external businesses. In our business, we work with a lot of partners, whether it be media buying, whether it be digital space and agency space and all of that. And Slack enables us to create channels that invites those external people into our world, which means it all stays in one spot. And so for us, Slack aggregates all our communication with all the people in our business, internally and externally, into the one spot, which makes our life a hell of a lot easier and enables us to do a hell of a lot more. And and on that fact, Asana does the same thing as well. Asana, we can bring in external people into our world and assign them tasks as well. And so I recommend working or looking at two tools like that, because you put your whole business into one place, and it limits the amount of places you need to go to find that information and to understand what's going on.
So the Mate business has grown pretty significantly, especially over the last 12 months. And the scope of your role as well has, quadrupled probably. What are some of the results you've achieved through implementing those methods that you've mentioned in the tools?
Yeah, look, and not just from a sales and marketing point of view, just as a business whole. We've got roughly 50 people in our service and marketing teams and all of that, and we're quite a significant business size, and we probably, I don't know for sure, but I think we're, if not one of the largest independently owned service providers in the country. And if you look at competitors like that compete with us, people like Aussie Broadband, etc., who have come out and said they've got 459 staff, working across multiple offices. I think with the methodology that we have in place, the tools that we've got, I feel like we can do a double the work than other people do with less resources. And why that's important? One, it means that we keep costs down, which means that we can bring more value back to our customers. And two, we have more control over what happens, right? Especially what the end customer sees. Now, we have this goal in our business that this goal of customer happiness, right? And so we say one of our goals is to ensure that we deliver customer happiness. And when you start losing control of the consumer journey, you lose the elements, or you don't have control of some of the elements that need to achieve customer happiness. And I think, again, with all the tools that we have in place and the methodology that we keep in the business, and ensuring that everybody follows that, we can do a shitload more with a lot less and deliver a better outcome.
So then what do you classify as success, and how do you actually measure that, yes, you're being successful or not?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways. There's a lot of ways that we measure the success of what we do. And, I think if you're starting up a business and looking to understand what the success metrics are, I think one of the things that you need to do is come up with those targets or those metrics first, because what measured gets done, right? And I think it's really important to have measurements in place. And sure, those measurements may change as you go along, because you find out that relevant measurements aren't applicable, or you're doing new things, etc. And so, but having that measurement in place is critical, right? Again, if it's measured, it gets done. And for us, we have a bunch of things, right? If you look at our development side of things in our network, if you look at our customer service, if you look at our sales and marketing, finance, etc., we have all different metrics and targets that we need to hit to ensure our business is achieving the goals, not just from a revenue perspective, but from a profit perspective and from a product perspective as well. And so we have a bunch of scorecards in place, particularly around our service modeling. We measure servicing about how quick we answer calls, how many callbacks we need to do, one call resolution, making sure that when we have one call that we measure in that call, that ensuring the percent of one call resolutions where we ensure that we answer a customer's questions and solve their issue on one call without any callbacks or any other communication. We also measure our success of our awards. We make sure that we get out there into the general public, and we get out there to industry standards and put ourselves out there and get ourselves benchmark against competitors, against different people in different industries, and to ensure that we understand how we're competing in a bunch of different areas against the industry and different industries as well. And things like we're a member of the Customer Service Institute of Australia, and we enter their awards program, and there's a bunch of things like that which are really important to us and ultimately tell us if we're winning against our competitors or against different industries, etc. When it comes to monitoring calls, we turn our calls into word clouds. In those word clouds, we can determine, the consistency of what our team is saying, making sure that we're saying the right things in the right places at the right time. And that's something that we plug into tools like Power BI and those places to make sure that we're measuring properly exactly what we're doing. Reviews are huge. We're very heavily involved and active in pushing customers to leave us a review, good or bad, on platforms like productreview.com.au. For us, productreview.com.au is important because the reviews are verified, meaning that somebody has to prove there are a mate customer, or they have been a mate customer, to leave a good or bad review, and that to us, shows a lot of credibility to our customers because they're proper reviews and no one leaving random reviews. I mean, we also focus on Google reviews as well, but we all know with Google reviews, anybody can leave a review, but we obviously push the authentic reviews as much as we can. There's obviously the other part of that we determine as success is simple customer numbers. How many customers we're getting through the door and how many are we keeping, right? And I think that's the ultimate success of your business, because the more happy customers are, the more they love around the service and the products that they receive, the longer they're going to stay. And so, I think one of the biggest metrics in our business is customer churn. And if we can ensure that customer churn stays down as low as possible and we're beating industry standards, and then we know we're doing right things in the world that we live.
Thanks, Faz. Today has been really insightful. Learned a lot about your approach to business and what makes and breaks success.
If you're seeing this podcast posted on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook or Instagram, drop us a note if you want to hear about something in the comments, and we'll talk about it on our next show.
Awesome. Thanks, Faz. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to the Let's Be Mates podcast by the team at Mate.
Search for the Let's Be Mates podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube and at letsbemates.com.au. Hit subscribe to get the latest episode each week.
For all your telco needs, choose a provider you can trust like a mate. Visit letsbemates.com.au, Google Mate, or call us on 13 14 13 to sign up today.
See you soon, mate.